One of these forgotten home styles was once built to avoid property taxes, and it actually worked. Using a clever design loophole, homeowners added secret living space without paying a dime more in taxes. But today, most people have no idea this style even existed. America's neighborhoods weren't always lined with cookie-cutter houses. From 8-sided homes and steel-paneled dwellings to space-age diners and sci-fi domes, the 19th and 20th centuries saw some of the most creative and unusual home styles ever built. In this video, we're digging into the architectural past to uncover 7 bold, beautiful, and sometimes bizarre home designs that once defined the American landscape, and why you rarely see them today. Number 1. Second Empire style. If you've ever looked at a house and thought, that roof belongs on a palace, chances are you were looking at Second Empire architecture. Known for its signature mansard roof, a double-pitched beauty that made room for an extra floor without technically counting as one, this style brought a touch of Parisian flair to American cities in the mid to late 1800s. These homes weren't just fancy, they were flaunting it, with decorative brackets, iron cresting, and tall dormer windows peeking out like curious eyes. Second Empire houses were the kind of place you'd expect to find velvet wallpaper and a faint scent of pipe smoke in the air. In fact, so many city mansions were built in this style that whole neighborhoods started looking like mini versions of the French Quarter. And here's a quirky tidbit. Some clever homeowners used that mansard roof loophole to dodge extra property taxes, because technically, an attic wasn't considered livable space. But with a few windows and a bit of flair, voila, a secret top floor tax-free, a little French style, a little American ingenuity. Today, Second Empire homes stand like grand old characters from another time, towering, elegant, and just a bit dramatic. Number 2. Shingle style. At first glance, it might look like a weathered beach house, but step a little closer and you'll see it's anything but simple. Shingle-style homes with their swooping roof lines and walls wrapped in continuous cedar shingles brought a rugged elegance to the coastlines of late 19th century America. Born out of Queen Anne's flair but stripped of the fuss, this style felt relaxed but refined, like a Victorian who had finally kicked off her corset and gone on vacation. The shingles weren't just a siding choice, they flowed over curves and corners like waves, giving each home a handcrafted, almost sculptural look. These homes were a favorite among the well-to-do who summered in places like Newport, Rhode Island. One standout example, the William G. Low House, was so ahead of its time with its sweeping gables and open floor plan that modern architects still point to it as a turning point in American design. Legend has it that one wealthy family painted their shingles white every year, only to let them fade into a silvery gray by summer's end, just to match the driftwood on the beach. Shingle-style homes were built to impress without showing off, offering a breezy kind of luxury that still whispers of salty air and clam bakes by the shore. Number 3. Spanish Colonial Revival. With its white stucco walls, red clay tile roofs, and archways that look like they belong in a sun-drenched plaza, Spanish Colonial Revival style didn't just build houses, it built daydreams. This romantic architectural wave swept through the American Southwest and California between 1915 and 1940, bringing old-world charm to new neighborhoods. The style exploded in popularity after the Panama, California Exposition in San Diego, where fairgoers fell in love with the tiled fountains, wrought iron balconies, and shady courtyards inspired by Spain, Mexico, and the Mediterranean. Suddenly, every home builder wanted their slice of the hacienda life. And it wasn't just looks. Those thick stucco walls helped keep things cool in the scorching heat, and the open-air layouts were perfect for entertaining on warm summer nights. It wasn't uncommon for homes to feature colorful hand-painted tiles, heavy wooden doors, and even bell towers. Because why wouldn't you want to feel like you're living in a Spanish villa? There's a story of a Hollywood silent film star who demanded her entire home be built in this style after visiting the exposition, complete with a tiled courtyard and a live peacock roaming the grounds. Spanish Colonial Revival didn't just shape homes, it set the stage for the California dream. Number 4. Cape Cod Revival. If the American dream wore a sweater and baked apple pie, it would probably live in a Cape Cod Revival. With its steep roof lines, dormer windows, and no-nonsense central chimney, this style brought colonial simplicity into the 20th century, and made it feel like home. Originally inspired by the hardy homes of 17th-century New England settlers, the revival took off in the 1920s and became the darling of post-World War II suburbia. After the war, returning soldiers needed houses, and fast. Thanks to the GI Bill, developers began mass-producing these modest, affordable homes across the country, giving rise to neighborhoods filled with rows of tidy capes like popcorn on a stovetop. They weren't flashy, but that was the charm. A Cape Cod house felt like a clean slate, a cozy canvas where families could grow. Some had picket fences, others a flagpole out front, and many a driveway where a shiny 50s Chevy first learned to leak oil. There's even an old joke from the era: you know you're in a Cape Cod when you can vacuum the whole house without unplugging the cord. Small in size but big in heart, the Cape Cod revival gave millions of Americans their first real shot at home ownership and a chance to build a life behind a red front door. Number 5. International style. Forget frills. International style threw out the gingerbread trim and said, less is more. With its flat roofs, massive panes of glass, and a complete lack of ornamentation, this modernist movement was all about function, clarity, and clean geometry. It was architecture stripped down to the essentials, and it made quite a statement doing so. Born from the minds of European visionaries like Mies van der Rohe and Walter Gropius, the style crossed the Atlantic in the 1930s and reshaped urban skylines. Buildings were no longer about looking grand, they were about being honest. Steel frames, open floor plans, and sleek facades became the language of progress. In the suburbs, a few daring homeowners embraced the look, trading cozy shutters for walls of glass and curved corners for right angles. It was the house equivalent of wearing a black turtleneck in a room full of bow ties. One architect famously insisted on having no window frames at all, just glass meeting glass. When the contractor asked how the rain would stay out, he supposedly replied, "That's not architecture, that's engineering's problem." International style may not have been warm and fuzzy, but it was bold, unapologetic, and decades ahead of its time. For those who craved clarity over charm, this was home. Number 6. Googie architecture. If the future had a style in the 1950s, Googie was it. With its upswept roofs, neon lights, boomerang shapes, and starbursts that looked like they came straight from a sci-fi comic, Googie architecture was bold, loud, and impossible to ignore. This wasn't a style that whispered, it shouted from the roadside. Born in the car culture of post-war America, Googie was built to be seen at 35 miles per hour. Diners, coffee shops, motels, and gas stations embraced it wholeheartedly because nothing said "pull over here" like a glowing spaceship-shaped canopy or a rocket-inspired sign pointing to pancakes. Named after Googie's coffee shop in Hollywood, the style became a symbol of optimism during the atomic age. The space race was heating up, and Americans were dreaming of jetpacks, moon colonies, and meals in pill form. And Googie made those dreams look like they were already here. Legend has it, one diner owner asked his architect to design something that would make traffic stop dead in its tracks. What he got was a roof shaped like a flying V, and a sign that looked like it could launch into orbit. Though many Googie landmarks have faded away, the style still lives on in pop culture, and in the hearts of anyone who grew up believing the future was just around the corner. 7. Geodesic domes. They looked like something dropped from outer space, and in the 1950s that was exactly the point. Geodesic domes made from a web of interconnected triangles were pitched as the ultimate futuristic home, strong enough to withstand hurricanes, light enough to move, and efficient enough to heat with a single space heater. Visionary architect Buckminster Fuller believed the dome could solve the world's housing problems. With a little math and a lot of imagination, he proved you could enclose more space with less material than any traditional structure. And you didn't need a team of builders, just a kit, a screwdriver, and maybe a few willing neighbors. During the dome craze of the 1960s and 70s, you could find these bubbly homes popping up in forests, deserts, and even communes. One man reportedly built his entire geodesic dome by himself in a weekend, then lived in it for 30 years without a single roof leak. But for all their sci-fi appeal, domes didn't quite catch on with the general public. Their open interiors made it tough to hang pictures or install doors, and some folks just couldn't shake the feeling they were living inside a giant golf ball. Still, geodesic domes remain a symbol of radical design thinking, an optimistic experiment in how we might live differently, and maybe even better. So what about you? Have you ever seen one of these unique home styles in person? Or maybe even lived in one? From octagon houses to space-age domes, these designs may be rare today, but they each left their mark on the way we lived. Let us know in the comments which of these old home styles you'd choose to live in, whether it's the cozy charm of a Cape Cod, the drama of a Second Empire mansion, or the futuristic flair of a Googie diner turned dream home. We'd love to hear your stories and your pics.